when you stood up.
Yes, just wanted to make sure everything was good on that.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, so continuing our sessions on mastering the art of selling homes here. So there's 8 sessions, and welcome. You have made it to session 2, so I congratulate you on that. In the chat, we have dropped the Google Drive link for the PDF supplement, for lack of a better word of calling it. I've taken some notes for you, and I will drop it in there again. There's also a PDF that's in there just to help you retain some of this information. So just a few things from session 1, a little bit of a recap, challenge you to change your thinking. You may have started the business working with buyers. Most of us do. Why? It's a little bit of a, dare I say, easier path. That's not really true, but it feels like a little easier to obtain, and then feels like, well, I know that I'm going to get paid in 30 days if I have this under contract. But listing homes is really the foundation of the business. The buyer is the byproduct. It's a secondary result. It's the consumer coming because the product is out there and available. So does your business have the right foundation? So if you list a home, right, and you sell it for the right price, no matter what, the price will overcome all, right? So a home, any home priced appropriately is going to sell. If it doesn't sell, there was something with the seller's motivation or the pricing or the marketing or condition, right? But for the right price, someone's going to show up and buy it. Buyers, there are a lot of ambiguities on approval, their time frame, are they going to follow through, you name it. So with listings, you increase the chances of having more regular closings. When you have listings, you really employ the agents to bring you the buyers and the contracts. Just recently, look, I love the reminders I get. I was on vacation in Central America, had a listing in Virginia Beach, and ratified the contract while I was there. So think of the logistics of the buyer. It had to have someone else show the property and consult with them or what have you. But I'm on some other part of the globe and someone's bringing me a contract. So that's the power of listings. It brings you a certain level of freedom, consistency, but then also can leverage other opportunities for business. So even one listing can bring some sign calls, or you can have open houses for business. You can engage with the neighbors. You can have social media activity that can bring in more business. Video marketing can be generated. Sure, you could get buyer side information or deals from that, and then generate more referrals. So with buyers, yes, you do get leverage opportunities, but it's it's a much smaller list. With listings, there's an exponential chance for business. That's why it's worth the value to really get into understanding it. Well, why do sellers need us? Our value to them is to make sure that they sell on terms acceptable to them with the least amount of stress and expense as possible. If you can articulate what you can do for a seller, if you understand what they need, your conversations are going to be much better, much more effective. So if there was one sentence that can wrap up why you matter, the value, help them sell on terms acceptable to them with the least amount of stress and expenses possible. Now, our duties to a seller, why do we matter? Why should a for sale by owner use us rather than just putting the sign out there and just hoping that they have a good transaction coming up? We help them determine that competitive price, a price where they are going to be in the best possible scenario for the best possible net proceeds or break even, or sometimes that happens, without being overpriced and sitting on the market and having something languish there with high days on market. So help determine that competitive price, put together a competent plan to help market and show the property. A lot of sellers want to sell, but they just need to know how. How does this happen? And should I stay home? Should I leave? How do I know? You got to get down to the basics to let them know. And then negotiate the best terms for them, obviously. And then help reach closing with the least amount of expense and stress. They do need us through that transaction process. Let's get into what sellers are thinking. Because if we know what they're thinking, that is going to help you with your messaging, your marketing, your calls when you're converting, your in-person conversations, you name it. So right now, and this is a recent survey, 55%, as many as half, a little over half, wanted to upgrade their home, right? They want a better spot, they want better features. There was a period when we were in a historic market in 2020, 2021, where people were buying homes, multiple offers, appraisal guarantees, waiving inspections, you name it. Very limited inventory. There's high buyer remorse, according to the studies. As many as 70% didn't like the home that they had for whatever reason, probably because they had limited choices. They're ready for something better, or something in their life has changed, or they got into the home and had regret that, wow, we should have got that 4 bedroom, or, yep, I compromised on the garage and I sure wish I had it now, right? So they're looking for something better. They want to sell for a profit. They have home equity. They want to take advantage of that. About half can think that they could sell for more now than the future. Those are the doomsdayers who believe that the market will crash, and who knows? None of us really have a fully accurate crystal ball on that, but that's what they believe, and it's their choice. About 40%, a shrinking household, otherwise known as downsizing. The kids are graduating, they moved out. Why do we have all this house? 39% believe that they can get a better deal on a home now. So, and essentially that is true because the home prices do go up each year, anywhere from 2 to 5%, or sometimes more in certain neighborhoods. So, yes, that home that they want will be more expensive. It's almost a guarantee. And the 34% growing households, right? We are bursting at the seams and we need something bigger. So, when it comes to your messaging, your marketing, your conversations, your social post, know what they're thinking, right? What are those buzzwords that jump out? And this is the majority of the reasons. Now, there are specific reasons sometimes, like I've got military orders, my job is making me transfer, right? There could be more targeted reasons. But if you are casting a wide net, who needs to upgrade? Who wants to cash in on the home equity? Who wants to sell for more now, which again is tied to home equity? Who needs to downsize? Who's looking for a better deal on a home now before they get too expensive? And then who needs to upgrade because of a growing household? Those are the keywords that should jump out at you. So you want to start with a plan with your most likely seller scenarios and then work other sources. Now, there are agents who have different comfort levels on some of these lead
Yeah,
generation
maybe.
sources, right? There are some who are going to start from the outside in, right? Meaning instead of speaking with their sphere of influence, that's what SOI is there in the middle, or their past clients, they would rather stay on the outside, work online leads or open houses, cold calls, things like that. Well, that's fine. You can start anywhere on this. If you imagine this as a target and your bullseye is really your past clients and your SOI as being your highest likely opportunity for a seller, you can certainly start further outside the circle with farming or FSBOs investors if you want. You just make sure that your activity level is enough and it's consistent enough to have enough conversions at those levels. The further you are away from the bullseye, the more connections and activity you have to do in order to convert at the level that you want. So obviously, sphere of influence being in the middle of the bullseye, you're going to convert more in that area. But okay, if you feel like you're not getting enough from your sphere of influence or past clients, maybe that is moving a little slower, right? You're not getting the referrals that you expected. Your past clients are, it looks like they said they were going to stay in the house forever, and it looks like that might be true. Okay, well, now I'm going to start working outside the circle. Maybe I'm working some sort of farming activities that we'll get into, or maybe I'm going to start working with investors who are always buying, flipping, and selling. And then I can start working out more to the prospecting of for sale by owners, cold calls such as circles prospecting, expireds, absentee owners, or then open houses and then online leads. So, my suggestion is work from the center, work your way out, and give your sphere of influence a chance to say no, they don't need your services. So just make sure you're doing the right amount of activity. You want to make sure that you have 3 appointments for listings that you want obtained. So if you want one listing per month, you really want to aim for about 3 in-person meetings each month. Now, the reason for that is you're going to have a combination of things. Yes, you're going to have people that said they were going to meet and then they don't. You're going to have ones that you did meet, but then you find out that they really don't want to sell until 2026 or something like that, right? So it's like, okay, this is going to be a while, right? Not often are you meeting somebody and they're ready to put the sign in the yard this Saturday, right? Those are great opportunities, but most seller listing leads are won through a follow-up campaign where you have met, you've done a needs analysis, you helped them with a plan and a strategy. Now it's the waiting game for that life trigger, when the orders come in, when it's graduation, when they finally get those repairs done, things like that. So that's why you need more appointments than listings needed because of the time factor in that. And there may be some that I've already said this to you, and if not, you will hear it today and you will hear it again. Sellers are like 500-pound rocks. And every time you communicate with them, you've moved them a quarter inch closer to listing. Because listing is work, it takes time. There are life events have to align. So we as agents want right now business, and you have to stick with them. And you have to understand that you can help their timeline, right? You can help them find that next home. You can help them align with a contractor to get those repairs done. You can help them take advantage of the market because inventory is low. You name it. But really, they're going to list when they are ready to implement that plan because listings are work. All right, let's move forward. 39% of sellers will choose an agent by referral. So we're talking about 4 out of every 10 listings are by referral. If you, in your neighborhood, get your car and you're ready to go drive somewhere and you see ABC Real Estate has a house listed a couple streets over, you start to build up that anger inside, like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm going to have to drive by this sign every day. It's going to drive me crazy. And it happens to me too. And then I'll sit there and say, how did they get this listing? I just sent the postcard out. How did they do this? Well, they had a stronger referral relationship. That's the number one reason. They either have a direct connection with them or somebody referred them, and there was enough trust where they hired that person. So that's where it's coming from most often. I mean, yes, there are online sources and a number of other things that we'll chat about, but that's really where it's coming from. So you need to take care of those opportunities. And then you have 27% that used the agent previously. So you want to make sure that you stay in relationship with those past clients. What can we do to commit to working with our sphere of influence to take advantage of those opportunities? Well, committing is being intentional, bringing consistent, authentic value. And part of your real estate marketing really should be sitting down each month at the beginning of the month and thinking, okay, what can I do this month? I got busy last month. I got distracted. I had all these promises to myself. I didn't follow through, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Put that 30, 60, 90-day plan ahead of you of what can you do to be intentional, bring some value. Develop a system to reach monthly and quarterly. I'll share a few automated ways to do that. And you can either have a system, basically something where you have chosen a certain amount of activities that are written down or are somehow electronically stored with reminders in a calendar or what have you, that you're going to repeat in order to get a result. So you can certainly do that, or you can use some of the automated systems like in a CRM to help you out. I'll give you examples. Offer connections to people or services to help them. So that's one great way to show that you're connection and be authentic with that value. What if each month you were featuring, hey, if you ever wanted to buy in the future, here's Johnny Home Inspector. Well, if you've ever had plumbing issues, instead of just randomly finding someone on the internet, why don't you use Susie Plumber? She's absolutely amazing. She's helped some of my clients. And that could be something that is social, email, mailer, what have you, where you're building not only your network, your team in times of trouble, but helping your clients ahead of time. And then share that you help sellers just as much as buyers. We tell the story so often about our success with buyers and not enough with listings. And you're going to get what you ask for in real estate. So you want to choose your consistent lead generation with those sphere of influence and past clients. Make sure you're talking about selling in your marketing enough. Do you have a balanced message, or what if you just dropped every story about working with buyers and concentrated 100% on talking about how you can help people sell? Well, if you talk about how you can help people will sell, guess what? The buyers are going to kind of come along with that, right? And that way, at least you're not dropping the ball on communicating with sellers. Are you offering home values? It is the easiest play that we can do. And anybody who owns a home is always interested in what it's worth, right? Do you think it's any shock or surprise or pure coincidence that nearly every homeowner in America knows what his estimate is? How is that? Did Zillow do a lot of marketing for that? Have you ever seen a Zestimate commercial? I haven't. No. Um, they look up their own home and they've looked at other homes and they scroll up and down and they see Zestimate and they've been programmed and trained. So you have to program and train your sphere of influence that you're the source of the correct home value and not scrolling down to the Zestimate. And there's a big difference there, right? So that comes from consistency. Are you using market reports and other tools in KV Core? So for some of you, if you're thinking, well, market reports and other tools in KV Core, otherwise known as it's rebranded now as Bold Trail, I'll give you an example. So if you're with First Class and you have Bold Trail and you have a website, there is a link on there that gives market reports for free. See what your home is worth. This is something you can share on social media, through email, through mailers. You can text it, you name it. You share a link, somebody can go ahead and get a free report. There is also something known as monthly marketing reports, or market reports rather. So what's the value on market reports? This is one of those set it and forget it sort of automated things that just helps your life be easier, right? Imagine if you were printing for your sphere of influence some sort of updated market report specific to their own neighborhood and folding it in an envelope and sending it out would be maddening. Now, you could do some sort of mailer if it is a pretty generic overview of the market, and there's nothing wrong with that, though that is valid. But the more micro you can get in real estate, right down to the neighborhood, as you see in the screenshot, the better it is for you. These market reports tie into not just city, but you could do it by zip code. And most times you could do it by subdivision / neighborhoods. This one, Rosemont Forest, or Kempsville, or Lambert's Point, or Lucas Creek, you name it. So this allows you to get very specific with your client, and whether it's past client or sphere of influence. So if you're wondering, well, how do I find their address? You can ask them. I mean, your past clients, I hope you know their address, right? But your sphere of influence, you can ask them. You can look them up on tax records. There's a number of things you could do. It'll take a little data-driven effort at first, but it'll be high value because once you set these once a month, automatically they're going to get a market report. If they don't care, they won't open it. But they still saw your email. Mission accomplished because you planted a seed that you're the one that can deliver the report. If they really don't like it, they can simply opt out. No harm done. But if they open it, now you're educating. And they're going to receive an email. Says, hey, market report for Rosemont Forest. They're going to be able to see how many homes for sale, what's popular, recent sales. They're going to see the most expensive home, things like that may catch their interest. They may not open up every one, but even if they see your name and a subject line, you've won the marketing battle. There's also a way that you could be a bit intentional, let's say on social media. So those version of market reports are with each contact. So if you have John Seller. John Seller works at lives at 123 Main Street. You can set a market report so that once a month they're getting a report on what's happening in Pleasantville where he lives, and walk away and let the machine do the magic for you. The other thing is market reports that you can advertise. Now, this is something you can post on social. You can also send out via email or what have you. There is a marketing page where you can add, or you can create a marketing report link. What I like about this is, again, you can get micro. Yes, you could do a town, you could do a zip code, but why not do a neighborhood? And there have been studies that show that when you mention specific neighborhoods, that you start to really catch eyes on social media. So if you put in an area, as you see in the upper left, and then on the right, you can easily generate a link for these market reports. If somebody clicked on this link, what would they see? Homes for sale in Kempsville, let's say. They can see, and some of these prices are probably going to wow them, because if they live there for a bit, they're going to say, wow, are they really going for that much in Kempsville? How much is my home worth, right? You will see on the lower left, they have the popular listing. Then on the right, they have the most expensive. So these are things that your sphere of influence will see if you are sending them the emailed market report each month, or if this was a link that someone, let's say on social media, saw to get a market report. So this is a simple post. Just put, here's my market report on real estate activity in Kempsville. I can also share info specific to your neighborhood to see how your home investment has grown over the last few years. DM me for details. And that link you see was this page that was created off of KV Core / Bold Trail in this manner, going to marketing, and then they have a market report, and then this is where I can create the link. So a few things here. If you look at the blue arrow, it's very specific. It says free real estate market report for Kempsville. And there's so many ways to win here. One, if they just look at it, they saw a house and they saw my name, I'm instantly branding and educating. Even I know that house isn't amazing, right? And with Bold Trail, they just kind of seem to use the same generic picture, but I don't care, because the message is I just want people to know me and real estate. Second, if I'm saying market report, real estate market report, I'm delivering something that most often is not given. So I'm at least educating there. And then if they click and actually look at the market report, now I'm winning. So it is an easy marketing tool that you can use a few times a month. Let's move ahead a little bit, because I know that not everybody is into tech, and I understand that. But what I suggest with a tech platform like Bold Trail or a client relationship management system, and there's all different names of them, right? There are going to be, maybe 5-7% of agents, who are real nuts with technology. They love it. And they're going to learn every click, every button and stuff like that, right? And that's not what I'm encouraging you to do. I'm encouraging you to find the 2 to 3 purposeful actions you can use in order to get more business. So if you can learn 2 to 3 things in the CRM and repeat that, it's going to help you make sure that you win some business and not lose business. So, but moving forward, I would say with finding seller leads, you do want to keep your eyes open. There are changes all around you. There are things that are happening all around you. And once you really start to be intentional on looking for these opportunities, you're going to see, wow, these things are all over the place. How did I not see this before? Right. And I had the same thinking. I had the same thinking of, how do people get listings? I mean, this is like, and I see this one agent, they seem to get them all the time. How do they do this? It felt like this mystery that it would take me years to solve. And then I realized that, the opportunities were there all the time. I just wasn't really looking properly, right? Life changes in your sphere of influence are one of the top things that's going to be an indicator that there's going to be some sort of sale eventually, right? Neighbors clearing the clutter. Who's having a yard sale? Who's doing extra yard work? Who called the pressure washer and the landscaper in the same weekend, right? watch for neighbor activity. And sure enough, you're going to see something. You might not call or do the door knock or mail the letter, and you're going to see a sign up there eventually. And you're going to be kicking yourself. So watch out for that. That happened to me. Um, I saw one of the neighbors all of a sudden pushing a baby stroller. And I'm like, oh man, if they had a baby, they look like they're in a 3 bedroom. They're going to get another one. I got to make sure I mail them, right? Didn't, and guess who was selling? Like literally, like 2 months later, I dropped the ball on my own advice. So, who's an absentee owner in your neighborhood? That can be discovered with property tax records in our MLS system. The information is right there, hiding in plain sight, and creating a relationship for them, not for if, but when they sell. And there will be an opportunity for that absentee owner to want to move on. PCS and orders in this area. Obviously, the military is constantly shuffling people around the country for the great work that our military does. And I would really get ahead of that conversation as best as you can. And then all the D's, right? Divorce, diapers, death, downsizing. There might be another one in there that I'm forgetting. But unfortunately, life is life, and there are changes. And there's so much that's shared on social media that you have to be a little bit of a cyber stalker in other people's life to see what's going on. So if you see that breakup, and here come the diapers, right? Unfortunately, if somebody passes on, or if there's downsizing because you have people in your own sphere of influence who have children of the same age, and all of a sudden, they're graduating, moving to college, and now they're in this 3,000 square foot house with 5 bedrooms, and it's just them. What will be next? And you really have to keep a consistent eye for that. So I wanted to move forward a bit to some social and email ideas too. And these are on the PDF notes to help you out, to help you keep track. But as I mentioned before, you get what you ask for on social media and in real estate. So what you are prospecting for is what you're going to receive. And if listings or how you can help sellers is never in your conversation, you're probably going to get some listings, but you're going to get much less of what you could get or what you deserve. So if you're marketing consistently with some sort of value, right? Offering a seller's guide or a moving guide. Well, in our resources, we have some moving materials to help out. You can make one with AI. There are several that you can buy online for just a couple bucks, right? So there's endless guides that you can personalize. We can even help you do that with Canva. Share market data about home prices, right? They call it being the local economist. And what people are going to hear is mostly what they hear on the major news organizations, right? They're going to hear nothing but bad news, right? They're going to hear about interest rates or, home prices are falling in Austin, Texas. Well, how does that matter in Newport News or Chesapeake if home prices are falling in Austin, right? What's happening here? And you want to be the person that has that info. Share resources to get a refi. Some people might be interested in that. And then get to know a little bit more about assumptions, because you may have some sellers who are sitting on an amazing interest rate that we probably won't see for a very long time. And they may have an interest in selling, and they are sitting there with a 2.5. And if you are the educator that can let them know how to do that to make their home even more attractive and probably get more money because of that interest rate, um, it's an avenue. Also mentioning specific groups. How can you catch eyes, right? Is it first responders? Is it teachers? Is it military? Is it NASA? Is it something that you align with a previous industry? And how can you align with something that is very familiar to you and then very familiar to them as well? So again, these are email ideas. These are social media ideas to get in your talk track. As I mentioned, we do have some resources. So on our marketing portal, a portal that is accessible by BrokerMint, we have tips for sellers, buyers, 7 tips for home renovations. The great thing about AI, whether it's ChatGPT or you've got Gemini with Google, you can easily just type in you're a real estate agent and you want to create a marketing message. What are 5 things a homeowner can do this spring to improve their home's value? In about less than 30 seconds, you're going to have a whole script. And that's a script that could be used on a platform like Canva with some graphics. And we can even help you build that if you want. So with AI, the great thing is you don't even have to think about the content. All you need to do is pose the question and let the technology do the work for you. I do it. So I wanted to move forward to the power of CMAs, right? A comparative market analysis. And when I mentioned this, this isn't necessarily for a full CMA. Now, for those who are new to real estate, what would be the difference between a CMA for prospecting and a full CMA? Well, a CMA can be a comparative market analysis or a competitive market analysis, right? Essentially the same thing. You have a subject property, you are comparing it with other sales, recent sales that are similar in criteria, and you are making adjustments in the value of the comparable homes to discover the price of what the subject home is. So you can do that and make adjustments for each property. And if you have a specific listing appointment, I would highly recommend that you do that. But if you're doing any sort of prospecting for your neighborhood, your past clients, or what have you, your sphere of influence, I would suggest using some of the automated tools to make life easier for you. In the MLS, there is an AVM value, right? It's an automated value modulation, I think, right? Now, the great thing about that is there is a way to get a one-page report on that. But what I think is a little bit better of a better tool, and this is for your sphere of influence, sending out to your neighborhood or your past clients, is market reports that are, and we're back to Bold Trail again. So if you see on the left where there's the icon for marketing that is highlighted, you go to marketing, and then the red arrow, they have a CMA builder. So on the right is the next page where you can simply say who it's prepared for, right? Now you can put the seller's name, or let's say if you're doing it for a neighborhood, you could just put neighbors of Kempsville, right? Something generic like that. And then you can put in the property address and build the CMA. And within seconds, you're going to get a page. Actually, it's multiple pages, and it's your choice. Do you want to send the top page that is info enough, or some sequence of some of the other pages of the report? It'll say that it's a comparative market analysis prepared for, again, do you want a name or something like compared for neighbors of Allington or something like that? It'll have the address, it'll have the adjusted property estimate, and then a comparable estimate. It has even a range in case we're off a little bit, right? And this is something that can be emailed, it can be mailed, it can be hand delivered. And using something automated like this, you are delivering information to people where they rarely get it. Now, this is something that I would suggest where a lot of agents have actually run this CMA play for a long time. There are agents where this is 100% of their lead generation. Each year, a little before the spring market, they're doing CMAs, they're sending it out to the neighborhood, they're sending it out to the sphere of influence, and they're just working 100% for seller opportunities for that entire year. Now, with your sphere of influence, you could email it, you could text it, you can call and offer, hey, I am sitting down and helping friends and family and neighbors and putting together their latest home value. Would you be interested if I sent it to you? Not many are going to say no. I mean, maybe there's one or two who don't respond, right? Most people are going to say yes. Or what if you just mailed it as a courtesy and just sent it? No one's going to be mad that you did that, right? Unless they don't like the number. Your neighborhood could be a strategy as well if you want to build a relationship with your neighborhood, which I would highly encourage you to do. And if you have, let's say, 240 neighbors, I know that if I said by the end of the week, mail out 240 letters, that'd be a little tough. It'd be easier if it was postcards. But let's say if you were going to do 10 CMAs a week, now generating the CMAs, they probably take about 30 seconds each. So that's the timing of that. Yep, you'd have to print them off, right? So you got a little bit of expense of printing them off, whether it's at, say, a print shop like an Office Depot or your home printer. Doesn't have to be on expensive paper, but it's your choice on how you want to deliver that, right? And you are folding it up and you're putting it in an envelope and you're hand dressing it so that it captures attention. And you're doing 10 per week. Well, through a month, you've just gotten through 40. You've touched 40 neighbors in your door or you're in your neighborhood, right? Now 120 doors in 3 months. Now you've made a lot of contacts in just a few months. And then 240 doors in about 6 months if you're working on that average. So if you lived in a neighborhood of three, four, 500, you could theoretically do this in a year and then rinse and repeat next year and start all over again. There are other things you can do mail wise to capture attention, but this is a super easy play that you can do in order to connect with your neighborhood. Have something in there, business card, maybe an additional letter with a call of action. Mention you're an agent in the neighborhood that you want to help out your neighbors achieve their best property value. So I would have some other marketing letter in there to tell a little bit more of the story of why they got this random value. Your past clients, so they may be interested in selling sooner than you think. If you are sending this to them yearly, you are maintaining that relationship while doing other marketing activities. So I'm going to get into farming here a bit, since we're on the topic of mail. And there was something that's called the golden letter, and I'm not quite sure why they called it that, but somebody had to name it something, right? This is a tactic that has worked for many agents. There's many different types that you can do, but it's basically sending a brief letter sharing that you have a buyer in the neighborhood or a recent success of a listing sold. So you want to be truthful in your advertising. You don't want to say you have a buyer if you don't, right? There's usually a buyer for every neighborhood, so it's a little bit of a variance from the truth. But if you are sharing recent success of a listing sold, and the great thing about this, it could be your neighborhood or a neighborhood that you wanted to adopt, right? If there was a listing in Pleasantville and you notice that, well, that sold in 7 days, it's okay to call the listing agent and say, hey, Lucy listing agent, congratulations on your sale at 123 Main Street in Pleasantville. I saw that you sold that in 7 days. Yes, we did. That's great. How many offers did you get? Oh, you got 3 offers? Awesome. So I see on the sold information here that I actually sold for about 10 grand over list price. Yep. Yeah. Hey, that's great. Congratulations. So did you have a lot of showings? Oh yeah, we had like 25 showings. Thanks, Lucid listing agent. So now I have a story. Dear neighbor in Pleasantville, you might have seen 123 Main Street that was recently sold for $10,000 over list price. Well, after 24 showings and 3 offers, the sellers had an amazing time on the market. I would love to help you with your home value because there are more people interested in this neighborhood based on the number of showings on this home. If you need a home value analysis, here's my number. You can text me. Here's my QR code to my home value site on my website. And now you have a story that you can use for marketing. So some other suggestions for some of these farming golden letters that have worked well, having a uniquely colored envelope. If you want to use white envelopes, that's fine, but some have actually used gold or blue or yellow or red or what have you. I would suggest using real stamps. There's a little bit of a cost in mind here, but with the average online lead costing anywhere from $75 to $100, sending out something for 60 cents is certainly cost effective. Have a call to action, as I mentioned. Have some sort of way where they can get information whether it's a QR code to your website, a direct link to your website, call, text, email, whatever, put it all on there. And then I would hand sign it in blue ink so they know that it's real and not manufactured. Send to a targeted group. You could be hitting absentee owners in a particular area or those in your neighborhood who haven't sold their house in 5 + 10 years. You may be asking, where would I get this information? There are paid services you can, but as agents, you have tax information in the MLS. You have two versions. You have the realist tax option, and then you have property tax search, where you can easily pull a list of owner occupied absentee owners in any neighborhood in Hampton Roads or in your own backyard. So the information is right there. Or you can mention their neighborhood or a street they know. So I think that one way to differentiate yourself from some of the random junk mail somebody may get is the more local you are in a letter, the faster, the better, where you're drawing their attention so they know that you're talking about, hey, the house that's sold on West Avenue in Pleasantville, and now I've got their attention. I'm letting them know that this is something specific to them. Here's an example of a letter that we did mail out. We'd like to ask you a favor, dear neighbor. As you may have heard, the real estate market is hot or doing well, whatever words that you want to adjust it to. We listed your home on Kathy Drive. We entered the contract within days, receiving 15 offers. Seller will now net extra over less price. We have a buyer still interested in finding a home in your area, in your style of home. So here's our favor, which is true because we did get 15 offers on this home, right? Now, there's not a lot of homes getting 15 offers, but if there's a lot of showings for a house, right? I listed a home, we only got one offer, but we had over 20 showings. That means there's interest. There's interest in that neighborhood of 20 different people are showing up to take a look at it, right? So I would say, hey, we had over 20 showings. There are people interested in this neighborhood. We still have people who are interested. If you had interest in selling now or in the next few months, we may be able to help you connect with a buyer without a lot of showings. Who do you know who may be thinking of moving in the next 30, 90 days? Part 2 of that letter. If you're interested in a no obligation home value, we can mail it to you at your request. If you do not know of anyone, please keep your ears open. When you do hear of someone looking to sell, please give us a call. It will help us help a number of families that are looking for their next home. A QR code that went to the agent's direct home value site, and then contact info as well. Now, you can mail these out, and look, with any sort of lead generation, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a 100% success rate. You can mail these out, you might get a call. You mail these out, you might not get a call. But if you do it enough times in the right situations with the right message, you're going to get action on it. You're going to get contacts. Here's an example that I saw recently, and I thought it was a great idea. It was actually a post-open house letter. Now, open houses are great for seller leads as well. A few things that you can do is, well, one, have an open house, right? Most agents won't. Most agents get to an experience level where they think they have somehow graduated from open houses, yet they would be much better open houses now than they would when they were a new agent. So some of your pre-open house activities could include a mailer or some door knocking, some flyers. Some agents do a neighborhood preview. Hey, the first half hour is specifically for neighbors, right? Exclusive view. And maybe you're offering a prize for the neighbors to really draw in. I would want to draw in neighbors because I want a listing in that neighborhood. And it may draw attention. So there are some who do some pre-open house marketing to increase the chances of a list lead. But an agent sent this out. I know the print's a little small. I'll read through it very quickly. It says, we haven't met in person this past weekend. We had a couple of open houses and we saw 7 people come through the door. Like, that sounds amazing. That's like an average house number, average open house attendance number, right? 7 through the door. We're reviewing offers now, but my clients can only choose one to move forward with. Promise the families, this is a great angle here, listen to this. I promised the families that came through the open house that I would follow up with the neighbors to see if they are considering a move out of the neighborhood. Nice little take on a golden letter here of some activity. The other some of his families are currently looking to purchase a home here as soon as one comes off the market. And then, here comes the call to action. So that was kind of a nice touch. I thought it was a good creative spin on being able to try to pull an appointment after an open house and guarantee success. So we're going to touch a bit here on high volume prospecting. Now, when it comes to listing lead generation, the vast majority of lead generation, it works. You just need to make sure that you're doing the right level of it, right? So if you are trying to just dabble and dip your toe in the water of a high volume prospecting method, chances are that it may not work. If you do it at the appropriate level, you are going to find business, such as postcards. They absolutely do work, but you need consistency. You may have received a postcard when a home sold in a neighborhood and it was a just sold postcard. They're not a bad idea, but you're sending out 100 or 200 postcards, hoping that somebody nearby just happens to be in the time frame of them wanting to sell. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's a challenge, right? But if I am postcarding a neighborhood with a good message monthly or every other month or even quarterly, over time, I am going to pull business off of that if I have a valued message in those postcards. Circle prospecting. Now, this one is, I would say, rarely done. And I think it's because of the high rate of calling. You're dialing around a listing or an open house or a neighborhood. So, changing my audio source here. So it does work. But you have to have enough activity. If you're having an open house and you have resources that you have purchased in order to have numbers, you can certainly call around and say, hey, we're having our open house this weekend at 123 Main Street. Would love to have you stop by, having our neighborhood preview between 11 and 12. Dialing around a listing, similar to the golden letter message, but it's more so verbal and oral, right? So you're saying, hey, you might have seen or you might have heard that your neighbors on Main Street sold their house over list price and they had 20 showings. And there are people still interested in the neighborhood. Do you have any interest in selling perhaps now or in the next 6 months? And that is a conversation that's held over and over and over again in order to create opportunity. Some will just do that to a neighborhood. Door knocking, super viable. Have to knock on enough doors. And then there are sometimes when you will have immediate action on that, but there are also times when you're going to have to have follow-up because you may catch somebody who may have some desire to sell, but there is some sort of life event trigger or transition, and that may be pretty far off. So um, we have a session on prospecting scripts and on door knocking scripts that is coming up. And I would watch that sessions for more specificity on the scripts. But door knocking is old school and new school. The reason I say that is because before there was internet, most agents were building their relationships interpersonally through referrals, mail, door knocking neighborhoods, and it is a strategy that has not gone away, that still works, but now the way people communicate is a little bit different because we seem to be a little more, should I say, reluctant to open the door. We have ring cameras so we can see who's there. So you want to make sure that you have the right door knocking script and techniques, but it does work and it's a great way to build a relationship around a neighborhood or an open house and to build success for an open house. There are social media lead drivers that you can do too for a home value site, maybe driving it to your Bold Trail home value lead page that you have on your website or home value reports as well. So there are some who are
doing ads on, let's say, Facebook or Instagram in order to draw action in. So I wanted to give you an example of a postcard. So it was around the holidays. Imagine that. I'm sure you picked up on that. So on the left, it was something specific to the neighborhood, and then specific examples from the MLS. You'll notice that it's disclosed as to what the house was. We don't have to put the listing agent's name, but if we put the MLS number, we have checked the box on disclosure. So we're not taking credit for it, but we are taking credit for the market update. And we're displaying the sales prices because we really want to wow them, to have them check their home value. We want to inspire them that, wow, my neighborhood has really grown because I bought it for, 350 and now look at this at 550. Well, I may want to sell this thing and take advantage of the what? The equity, right? On the right-hand side, some graphic to pull them in, scan me. If they scan that, they will go to the home value page of uh, the Bold Trail website for home value. You can even test it now with your phone if you want to. And then on the lower right, there is a neighborhood specific URL created, pinemeadowsvalue.com, which will go right to the Bold Trail home seller or the home value page. So that's a postcard that was put together. We can always help you design that as well. So here's a couple of examples of some social media ads. Simple, but if it is posted enough, it's going to work. So again, these are paid ads. On the left, you have one where it was, what's your home really worth? It has something that is specific and local. Enter your address, receive your home's value. Find out in 3 easy steps, learn more, and it's going to go to a similar website that we have on our Bold Trail sites. On the right-hand side, a social media ad. Hi, neighbors. I compiled the latest sold properties in your area that could directly impact your home price. Some really interesting seller activity. Click below to see details and then learn more. And that is a list that you can create with your website by looking for solds rather than actives. So these are something that you can reproduce. Some more high volume prospecting for sale by owners. The number of for sale by owners seemed for a bit to dwindle a bit. And they were also, because there was limited inventory, they were selling so fast that it was a little bit more challenging to get for sale by owners. But it seems like, we'll shorten it to FSBOs, right? They always seem to be a bit behind the market, meaning there are a lot of for sale by owners that believe the market is what it was a couple of years ago, that have put it out there overpriced, that a lot of desperate people are going to show up because there's no homes to buy, and they're going to buy it with an appraisal guarantee and no inspections, and I don't need to pay an agent. Well, the market has changed, and now it's a bit more balanced. It still leans towards seller, but it's certainly way more balanced than it was 18, 24 months ago. So there's a number of for sale by owners that will hit the market under marketed because they think just putting it out there, people are going to show up overpriced, and then they don't know what they're in for when it comes to appraisals and inspection requests. So now we are relevant again in the for sale by owner conversation. Where can you find these? There are paid sources like Vulcan, Renix, LandVoice. If you're new to real estate, you're probably wondering, what are these names? And I know they're weird names. Zillow, for sale by owners, still the primary marketing source they'll use is putting it on Zillow, and you'll be able to see if it's new or how many days on market. And then driving around, you're going to run into yard signs. And most will list it with an agent. 30 days is most often when they choose to do so. And then about half of the contracts fail the first time when they are not using an agent. And we know how transactions go, so I'm sure you can fully understand why they fail because of the challenges. So, what are some scripts for a for sale by owner? And in our prospecting session, we'll go a little bit deeper into this, but give you an example. You may be interested. You may come across a for sale by owner sign and not want to wait and say, hey, I want to call them today. Well, the preview and 30-day option, that's the one I prefer because I believe it gets you to the most crucial part, which is an in-person meeting. Many agents are going to call and they're going to try to list it over the phone. And there are some that are super skilled with scripts and may be able to win over the for sale by owner, send the listing electronically and get it on the market. You're going to hear those success stories on the masterminds, the platforms, the videos, the podcast, and everything like that. So there are some people who do that. But I think the vast majority of us getting in the door will be key. What I would suggest is calling the for sale by owner. Hey, Jacob, I see that you put your home on the market. Um, that's interesting. Where are you going? Are you moving to Pleasantville? Hey, I hear that's a great place. Pleasantville, Minnesota. Do you have an agent there to help you find where you need to go? You don't? Okay. Hey, look, I've got a lot of agents in our network. I'd love to connect you with someone rather than someone over the internet. Would that be fair? Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I work with a real estate firm that sells a number of homes, anywhere from 75 to 100 per month. I have a number of buyers in my network as well. I see the information online. It looks great, but I would love to preview the home if I could, maybe even feature it on my social media to see if I can help you sell it. Would that be fair? Sure. When would be a good time? Tomorrow at 4, live it. I'll be there probably 15, 20 minutes tops. Love to know more about it. Right. When I'm in person, so I'm not trying to convert over the phone. I'm just trying to get in the door. I get in the door. Hey, this is great. I know you said you were going to Pleasantville. What's bringing you there? Oh, you love ice fishing and you want to be near your dad who's getting older. That's awesome. So, is there a reason why you chose to sell it yourself rather than using an agent? And of course, it's always because they want to net more money. That's the reason why. No matter what reason they give you, they want to net more money. That's the real thing. Now, there are a few things you could say. Well, you know, what will you do if this doesn't sell in probably about 2 to 4 weeks from now? Do you think you would list with an agent then? Maybe, I want to give it a month. I don't want to see. Yeah, I think you should agree, right? Don't object, agree. Yeah, I think you should give it a little bit of time. Um, is there any questions you have, something that I can do to help you? Because what we do is we do help stage and market homes and then make sure they're priced competitively and, work on the showing process to make sure that you can maximize an opportunity to sell it. Do you have any questions? No. I just have one more question, Mr. Seller. What's more important to you? Is it selling it yourself or getting the net that you need? Of course, it's getting the net that they need. No for sale by owner really enjoys selling homes, right? So it's not about selling it yourself. And I'll repeat that. What's more important to you, Mr. Seller? Is it selling it yourself or getting the net that you need? All right, great. Well, give it a shot for a few weeks. And if you're here, it's about 3, 4 weeks into it. Um, I'm sure there's a way that we can price and market this so that you would get that net that you would need. And how I'm paid will be, will be within your budget. Does that sound fair? Then you'd want to follow up. Um, if we can get you the net you expected or possibly more and did it in a faster time frame, do you see any downside to that? So that is the time frame. So you mentioned you wanted to move to Pleasantville. When did you want to be there? In 2 months. Okay, so you really don't want to stay on the market that long. Well, if we could get you exactly the net that you wanted and possibly more, and did it in a faster time frame, so you weren't on the market too long. Because to be honest with you, Mr. Seller, when they look at Zillow and they see the days on market, I already see that you've been there 97 days. You know what that says? It says, don't go to this house. That's what it says. It says that everyone has said no to this house, so I'm not going to waste my time. And it hurts you on showings. But if I could sell this for possibly more in a faster time frame, do you see any downside to that? All right. So these aren't things you make up on the spot. These are intentional things that you practice in role play so that you can position the conversation so that when they are ready to list, you're the first phone call. And you need to know your value and your worth because they don't believe you're worth the commission. And now the commission compensation conversation is different. I'm going to get to that in a moment, but I want you to know your worth. A good listing agent's job is not to cost you money, but save you money, right? A for sale by owner is paying a buyer's agent mostly to negotiate against them. The home inspector will cost you money. They're coming in and saying the things that you need to fix. The termite inspector may cost you money. They're going to say that Your crawl space needs a lot of work. The appraiser may lower your value. Everyone is working against you. Who is protecting you on your side? Now, the reason why it says shut up is because sometimes you have to make a point and stop talking and let them think about it for a bit. So you have all these entities that are negotiating against you, including one that you paid for. And who has your best interest in mind? And a lot of for sale by owners don't necessarily think about all the different phases of a transaction unless you educate them. Now, with the compensation conversation, they may say, well, I'm not going to pay 6%. And you may be able to say, you don't have to. Are you willing to offer 3% to someone who's representing a buyer? Yes. Well, wouldn't it make sense if you offer 3% to somebody who's representing you and we can negotiate that the buyer pays their agent? How about that? Then that way somebody's protecting you in that negotiation with the agent, helping you through the home inspection, helping you through the termite moisture inspection, helping you through appraisal, and making sure that buyer moves forward on the home. So you're still spending the same 3% that you planned on it. And what I'll do is negotiate that the buyer will pay that. You may be wondering, well, how? You know, it's either you're negotiating no closing costs and the closing costs would go towards the buyer's agent, or you can represent both sides, or you can go up on the purchase price if appraisal holds that. So there's a few techniques on that. Let's get back to some of those high volume prospecting activities, right? So you remember we started closer to the circle, right? We started closer to that bullseye with a sphere of influence and past clients. We worked our way out to farming, and now we're working our way outside the circle to more of those high volume activities. Now, when I say high volume activities, I don't want you to believe that I'm being negative about these sources because I called expired listings every single morning. So I did believe in the high volume activity, and it certainly helped me. I'd say anywhere from 25 to 30% of my listings were from expired listings. These sellers failed on the market and they don't love agents. They think we're bad at what we do because the house didn't sell. So you want to use your scripts to find out why and where are they going and when do they need to be there. Think of the W's, right? I noticed that your home didn't sell, but obviously, there was a reason why you wanted to sell and where were you going and when did you need to get there, right? And it's all about getting a meeting. Sometimes it happens in the first phone call, sometimes it needs follow-up. And I would follow up with an expired listing about 8 to 10 times over about a 2-month period in order to try to convert some business. Some converted, some didn't. It was mostly a numbers game. Best time to call, I believe, in the morning, 8 to 10 is prime time for calling new expireds. 4 to 6, pretty good time as well. And I would expect this for every 40 live conversations, you're probably going to get one appointment. And the biggest complaint is that they never answer the phone. Well, you have to keep calling. And that's where the follow-up is going to help you win more business. Now, an example script of what would it sound like if I'm calling an expired listing or withdrawing, they're the same thing basically. And they pick up, I'll say, hey, I noticed you had 123 Main Street on the market for a bit. When do you plan on listing again? That's the first thing I say out of my mouth if they pick up the phone, right? They pick up the phone. It's not, hi, how are you? How's your day, Jasmine? I'm saying, hi, I saw 123 Main Street was on the market and I notice it's off. So when do you plan on listing again? Hopefully they don't hang up and they answer the question, right? You want to get direct to the question, or if it's an older one. So I noticed at one point you had 123 Main Street on the market. Are you in a time frame that you need to list again soon? If they say no, I'm ready for the no's. Why are you choosing not to sell? Doesn't matter what we say. Now I get in my confidence that we can sell this. Whatever, it doesn't matter what they say as to why they are not selling. I'm immediately going to, you know what? I really believe this could sell. Why do you think it didn't sell? I'm going with an incredulous sort of attitude of disbelief. I can't believe this could sell. I'm confident this could sell. And I'm tapping into their emotion because They probably have no idea why it didn't sell. They believed it would, right? So where were you moving next when it sold? Now I may start sharing value. Well, I know you've gotten calls from a lot of agents, but we do things a little differently. And a lot of agents will sell on average about 6 to 8 a year, but our team is selling anywhere from 30 or more per month. So we really have this down to an exact science. So what do you think needs to be different the next time that you list your home? And then I would always lean in on a communication plan or some sort of promise of what we do. When would be a good time for me to view the home? And I'd like to find out more about it. So with expired listings, it's a numbers game. You can call 10 people with the same exact script. All 10 may be motivated to sell, but you're going to connect with one or two of them. There'll be some sort of rapport connection that'll turn into an appointment. That's why that high volume activity is what you have to keep that mindset of it's going to take a number of contacts over time in order to create opportunity. But it is one of the lowest cost lead gen for sellers, without a doubt. It's only the investment of time. So some other sources here as we wrap up on some listing sources where you can find them. There are probate list. So there is each locality has a process when somebody has passed on, and there are executives or heirs as to how this property would be transferred in ownership or go for sale. There's different ways to get this information. It is sometimes a rather sensitive conversation, but most people are going to sell these homes and they are good opportunities. But it's going to come through planning, good scripting, consistency. Seminars, I believe, are a growing way to get list leads. Some are doing it in person and online through Zooms. And it could be all different topics. And it doesn't matter, even if you had two people show up, that's like two listing appointments, right? If you need some sort of backed up marketing, whether it's through Eventbrite or Facebook ads, or you're reaching out to your database in order to build that. But the more interesting topic you have, the more that you have the likelihood of good attendance, such as aligning with a contractor or remodel business and host a home improvement seminar to boost a home value. So if you wanted to sell in the next year or two and you're wondering what should I spend my marketing, my home renovating dollars on, we're going to have, Janice Contractor to tell us the top 3 places where you should invest your money to improve it for your next sale, right? And that's something that can be recorded and sent out and used over and over again. Just an example. Find up and coming builders. There are plenty of established builders who have a lot of relationships that they have forged over the years. Who are the next generation of builders who need land, who want to build, that could be your future list leads? If you find land, well, then the established builders will definitely buy if you have an arrangement that they're going to list with you. And then investors or investing in your own projects. Investors are always buying, and that is a great source of flipped listings. And our investor training digs a little deeper into how to do that. So there are a number of ways to find listings. And with any sort of lead generation, my advice is to be careful. It is it is very tempting to try a little bit of everything, but you really want to concentrate on about 3 or 4. About 2 to 3 of those are going to give you the bulk of your results, and then that extra 1 or 2 may bring in some. So 2 to 3 sources that you do consistently and really dive into are going to give you 80% of what you do. And then there's going to be that extra 20% that's coming from some of the other activities. But if I could remind you on what to focus on, it would be just really thinking about, okay, what am I targeting? Am I hitting the most likely sources to bring business, or am I working from the outside in? Now, it's okay if you want to work from the outside in, working open houses online and in cold calls, that's fine. But remember, those are higher volume activity. You have to do the right amount of activity to create opportunity. If you start in the middle of this bullseye, let's call it, you're going to have a greater chance of finding right now business and more repetitive business as some of those outside sources really start to build up and convert.